Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the Mangird TEA MK-2. Mangird Zen's Mangird TEA MK-2. It's a long name. It's a long name. It's a complicated name. The company has decided to change its identification. Let's put it that way. But initially it was the Mangird TEA, which is the set that I have here, and then later it became known as the Zen's Mangird TEA 2 or TEA MK-2, which is this set. Anyway, first of all, and before I actually carry on, I want to thank Nims for lending me these two sets. Me and him, we have this thing going where I have a set that he doesn't have. I'll lend him my one, and vice versa. And the reality is, for some reason, I never really bought I bought into the Mangird TEA. I'm not gonna deny that there was some, but it just didn't catch my attention, and I just drifted to other IEMs. And now that the opportunity arose to actually review the TEA2, and since he was an owner of the original TEA, I thought, well, give me that one as well, so that I can position things and talk to people about both of these sets. And that brings us obviously to today's review. This is the case that it brings with it. Nice case. I haven't got the rest of the packaging, as you can imagine, but it's a nice enough case. It's very similar to the cases that you can get for some of Tin HiFi products. I've got the exact same case for all of my Tin HiFi products, actually, for the T4, for the T2, for the P1 Plus. So it's a nice sturdy case, solid construction, and gives it a touch of class above all. I think once we reach a certain price, it is important that that aspect of things is also kept on check. You want to have that extra for what you pay. Fair enough. At the end of the day, a case is a case, and you don't stick it into your ears. But having said that, I'm sure you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Anyway, excuse me. In terms of fit, there's really nothing that I can fault, because it fits beautifully in my ears. It just, I don't know, maybe I've been lucky. Very few are the IEMs that actually I have trouble with, to fit. But the MK-2 is not one of them. It fits flawlessly. The shell is a high quality resin shell. It's 6+1 hybrid, as we know. Apparently there's been some upgrade in terms of the dynamic driver from the T to the T2, and it's just so beautiful. I mean, excuse me, my apologies, got this nagging cough. It's got this beautiful faceplate. I mean, it is very good looking, stunning. Point to actually make case, it's got that, see if I can zoom this in, which is not going to be easy. Come on, there we go. It's got that vent over there, which has got the red color for the right side, and the left side has got a bluish color. Alrighty, there we go. So it's got that venting. I didn't see any other vents in the shell. I looked carefully, I could be wrong, but that's the only vent I found. It has got a pretty large bore, which might or could possibly be a little bit too much for some people. Personally, like I said, I didn't find any issue. Besides that, I use, as you can see, KBE or BGVP07 wide bore tips, large size. So these tips work just beautifully with me and with the majority of my IEMs. They really are flawless. I can't really fault them. And well, on to what you want to know, which is, what is the Mangird TEA MK-2 sound like, and so on and so forth, and how does it perhaps compare to some IEMs? Well, let me put things into the following perspective. It deserves the merit and the hype, let's put it that way, that it's getting. It deserves it. It is a very, very well tuned very well tuned earphone. I mean, like I said, there's really nothing that can be put as a fault. The measurements that I will show you in a second are measurements done obviously on my rig, my 711 rig. There might be differences to other measurements done by other people. Like, for example, Nim's measurement of his set is slightly different to mine. And also important to keep in mind is the fact that I used a wide bore tip, medium size, because that's the one that simulates more what the wide bore does in my ears. And that's the tip I use basically across the board on all the IEMs that I test and I review, so that I keep a standardization in terms of what tip I'm using. And I've been doing that now for a while. I used to use the tip that worked best, but now I've been trying to do that. I will still make a measurement of the tip that works best if I see fit, but for the sake of being fair, I try and keep it with the tip that actually fits me the best in terms of you know, and because the actual cupper doesn't allow to put a large tip inside there, because it's, I mean, I've done measurements with it, but it's very large to actually put. I usually use the medium size, which fits perfectly, and the bore diameter is exactly the same. So all the measurements here have been done with a medium-sized wide bore tip, also BGVP, by the way, or KB ear, whichever one you want to consider. And you know, the measurement that I got, the reading that I got, is fantastic. Let me just show you what I mean by that. There we go. And now, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the measurement that I got for the Mangird TEA MK-2. Everything fits within. Let me get something here to point at. Oh, I'm gonna have to use one of these cables. It's not a problem. As you can see, everything fits here within a band. If you were gonna put a band to this, everything fits here within a band of about 7-8 dBs, which is absolutely fantastic. The sub bass is beautifully done, beautifully executed. The marrying into the mid bass, there's no bleed. If you look at that, this is as neutral as you can possibly get with a touch of warmth. And it's curious because, you know, when you've seen as many IEMs as I have been lucky to see, and when you've been able to measure as many IEMs as I have also been lucky to measure, you start to see a curve, and you start to identify a curve with what it will possibly sound like, although, and I will show you in a second, that is not always the case. And you look at this graph and you straight away say, wow, this thing is definitely going to play well, and it does. To make something perfectly clear from the get-go, this is an absolute monster in the mid-range. Period. That's it. If I have to sign underneath that, I'll sign it. Mangird TEA MK-2 is a beast in the mids. The vocals are surreal. It is just unbelievable. Seriously, it is just unbelievable how good it is. It surprised me more than what I expected, to be honest, you know, and those that have been following me know that I have some references which might not be common references for mid-range or for mids or whatever, but they are, for me, in my ears, earphones that play flawlessly. I mean, you know, and lately I've actually been surprised at how good in general IEMs are becoming in that aspect. So there's a definite improvement by certain brands in the HiFi world to really start tuning stuff properly. So onto the Mark II again, so that I can explain it. Mids are beautifully executed. The highs are just the right amount. It's got the right amount of energy. Everything. There's no sibilance. There's no excessiveness. There's nothing. Everything is just, like I mentioned, it's neutral, neutral, with with a touch of warmth on the bass, and it's excellently, I mean, very well executed. In terms of technicalities, soundstage to die for. The first time I heard it, the two things that immediately jumped to me were the mids and the soundstage. You feel everything is in its proper position. It's everything is there, and you have this warmth that is really engaging. Having said that, the timbre and the tonality are not the best that I've heard. Okay, could it be because they're using BAs? I don't know. All I know is I've heard more correct sounding IEMs in terms of the timbre and the tonality. My reference for that I still maintain it as the oxygen. Period. For me, that's my reference for that with regards to that. So, soundstage, impeccable. Imaging, impeccable again. Nothing that can be flawed. Detailed retrieval, very good detailed retrieval, excellent. And yeah, that in a nutshell is what the Mangird TEA is about. What genres of music are more suited? It's very versatile, and that's the reality. It plays everything that I threw at it very well. It played my playlist beautifully, flawlessly. All the male voices that I liked listening to, Gregory Porter, all the female voices that I liked listening to, everything was impeccable. There was really nothing that I could fault it. Really nothing that I would say, okay, I wish. No, nothing. It is really, really a well executed IEM. How does it, for example, well, let me just put the graph of the MK2, of the original T2, of the original T, so that we can see something here, and then I'll explain. Okay, this is the graph, as you can see, of the original T. And yes, there are things that you can see were carried on, or the dip there at 5K that the original T has to counter issues with sibilance and so on and so forth. Although not as big on the Mark II, there's no sibilance. It's actually more V. If you look carefully, it's actually more V-shaped, the original T as compared to the Mark II. Apparently more sub-bass focused, and the welcomed addition of an extra bit amount of energy in the mid bass is very much felt. And what I mean by all of this is the following. You listen to the T, and it's balanced, it plays well, but you just get the sense that something is missing. You get the sense that the T, however good it is, and actually let me just come down here. So you always have this sensation in the T that it's somehow thin. I can't really explain it, and I personally think it's down to the fact that it doesn't have as much mid bass as the Mark II has, and that mid bass that it lacks, it takes away a world of texture and of this warmth and this extra tonality that you gain in the Mark II. It's just not as textured. Period. The highs, I did find, the well, not the upper mids, but the let's say the presence brilliance area. So the the lower mid, the lower treble, around 7, 8. I did find it to be I'm not going to say excessive. I'm going to say colored in this as opposed to that. So MK2, in my opinion, and this is very simple, if you do not have a T or T2 and you are undecided which one you get, T2, no question. If you have the T and you're thinking about upgrading, is the $40-50 difference worth it? Well, honestly, I would say yes if you're not a person that likes to equalize and play around a little bit. But if you don't have a problem with equalizing, you can easily equalize the T to have that extra little bit of energy that it needs in the mid bass and to bring down that 6, 7, 8K area slightly. And if you do that, you will basically have MK2. That's the truth. Let's call things by their name. That's the truth. So if you do not have it, I would say if you do not have either of those and you want, definitely MK2, and that's it. You're done. You're finished. The jump that you will have to do from this is a significant jump, and I'll get to that in a second, and you'll understand what I'm saying. So that basically kind of eliminates the T. I'm not detracting anything from the T, mind you. It's a fantastic IEM. Personally, and maybe the problem here was that I listened to the T2 first. Personally, after listening to the T2, this just sounded thin. It just sounded thin and almost gave me the sensation of being a V-shaped IEM and not a kind of neutralish warm IEM that it also is, okay? But this is just better executed. Okay, let's go back here to the graphs for a second so that I can explain something else. Okay, that's that part done. Okay, as for the other IEMs that are here present in front of us, what are they, and you know, what's the story with them? Anyway, let me explain them. Get away here. This. Okay. So I selected as well the soft ears volume because it kind of has the basic sound, the basic price range of the Mangird. It's about $280, $290. I selected the AudioSense AQ4 because it is for me, alongside the Midnight, a reference hybrid in the $200 range, and it's really very impressive. I selected as well the GSAUDIO GD3C because it is now for me the reference hybrid to buy at $100. And so those three are the main comparisons that I'm going to be doing with the MK2. And then I selected, because I was just playing around, and then I selected the XINHS 1+2, which for some reason the company has decided still not to launch, and it's a pity because I think it's a great IEM. It costs about $100 as well. And that's the graph I'm actually going to put up now to show you something. That's the graph of, oops, battery. Okay, so that's the graph of the XINHS. And you look at this graph and you say, oh wow, this thing is wow, this thing is like a Mangird. And yes, very much the same kind of sub bass, mid bass, the way it glides into the mids. It's got that dip there centered around as well, more or less 5K. It's got that crazy peak there as well, then at 8K, which is a pity, and then the treble above that is just not as well done. But again, it's a 1+2 and not a 1+6. But you look at this graph and you get a feeling, oh well, okay, this thing perhaps, and you know what? You listen to the XINHS on its own, and it's an earphone that actually needs a little bit of power to get the best out of it. Funny enough, you listen to it on its own, and you like, wow, okay, this plays well, very nice, very good. Are there better IEMs than it? Oh, yes, the 3C, substantially better. You put on the Mangird after listening to the XINHS, and you say, oh my God, what happened? And all of this to say what? Graphs are not everything, okay? Please, graphs are an indication of what might possibly be the sound that will come out of that earphone. But they're not everything, and this is the perfect example. You listen to the XINHS, and trust me when I say this is a very decent IEM. Very decent IEM. Very. But you listen to it, and then you listen to the Mangird, and you know, on to the ones that are the ones that really matter for my comparison today. And I'm going to put here the soft ears to start with. Okay, that's the soft ears. And kind of you get more or less the same overall kind of signature, but more energetic. Okay, bass is very similar, but you feel it's just got a little bit extra. It's just got a little bit more guts. But then it's got substantially more energy up top. So where the Mark II is very balanced, and if you actually put like a ruler here, the top of the bass matches the top of the mids and the highs, while here no. And what that translates into is that yes, the soft ears is fantastic. I absolutely adore it. I think it's a fantastic IEM. Some people have encountered all sorts of issues, too bright, too this, that. I can't complain. I think it's an absolute detail monster. That's the thing that surprised me from the first time I listened to it. Love it, love it, love it. Bass and mid bass to die for. Could it have been maybe a little bit improved for other people? Yes, it could, but again, don't forget it's a 1+2. So if the fact that Soft Ears was actually able to make a 1+2 of this quality for the price that they have, it's in itself already a no-brainer, period. How does the Mangird and the Soft Ears compare? They're different, obviously, of course you can see that they are different, but there are instances that they are quite similar. The Mangird can, with certain like if you hear Soul Persona, which I personally like listening to Soul Persona, you listen to Soul Persona on the Mangird and you hear it on the Soft Ears volume, and as long as you control the volume knob a little bit, they sound very similar. There isn't much differences. The female voices are very very evenly matched. So but then yes, you listen to Gregory Porter, and although the Soft Ears plays Gregory Porter fantastically well, it just sounds more natural. It doesn't sound, let's say, as colored as the Mangird. The Mangird sounds more correct, and the Soft Ears is a little bit more colored in that aspect. Okay, on to the audio sense. So we take this one out, an audio sense. Okay, again, you look, and very kind of similar-ish graph. The mids have got that kind of almost attempt to be flat like the Mangird has. It's got the nice extension up top. It's a 1+3, but immediately, yes, it is more V-shaped. You can see that it's more V-shaped. But again, you have the same situation that happens with the Soft Ears. You feel that yes, the Mangird is ultimately more correct, ultimately the better sounding IEM, but under most circumstances, with the stuff that I was hearing, there was very little, honestly, that you really have to start nitpicking and being really but to actually see significant differences. The impact of both is there. Yes, you do feel an extra amount of power on the audio sense. It's just got more guts to it. The sub bass does rumble more, but under normal volume levels, and they're very similar sounding, and all of this will have a reasoning for what I'm trying, for why I'm explaining, and I'm going to all this trouble. And then finally, the GSAUDIO 3C. There we go. And again, we have an IEM that's very much tuned in the same manner, to a certain extent, of course. The only real flaw that I would love if GS would address it is just make this flat, bring this down. Actually, bring it down even below 5. Below flat. Bring it and let it dip there at 5. That would make it flawless. Of course, much more V-shaped than the Mangird. But yet again, we have the same situation where, under normal circumstances, listening to most music, it is not easy to differentiate the two. For you to really start differentiating the two, you have to be listening under more ideal conditions and obviously more specific genres. But the truth is, under normal circumstances, it wasn't, oh no, I can feel it, this is the Mangird. Oh no, obviously if you leave the volume the same and you carry on, you start swapping IEMs, you will feel the difference in volume and you can pick up on the difference in sound from that. For example, when I had the soft ears playing, the soft ears needs power. It needs, because it's got very low impedance, so it needs power. And if I have my TK2 like I had at around a third of the volume, and I had the Mangird, it was playing loud already, like really loud. I would put in the soft ears and it just kind of muffled it. So I had to actually crank it up a little bit more to make it even out with the Mangird. Impedance obviously is an issue. The sensitivity of one versus the other is another. So all of these things play an important role. I mean, if you have something with high sensitivity, but the impedance is high, it will be different than something with a high impedance, with a high sensitivity, but the impedance being low. It just, it will demand more current from the amp, from the amp, from the DAC, less current. It is a factor that will affect the overall sound. But if you try and match the volumes like I tried to do with the TK2, they very much evened out in all of these three IEMs. Anyway, let me just go back here now to the IEM so that I can give you my final conclusion on everything. Just 1 second, please. Okay, there we go. Let me just open up this a little bit. Okay, so final wrap up on the Mangird TEA MK-2. What is the MK-2 for me? And I actually didn't compare it here in this review because I didn't have the IEM with me present. I actually lent it out to NIMS, and that's why I didn't mention it, and I'm only going to be mentioning it now. This for me is a baby Shure EJ07M. That's what it is. It's got all of the qualities that are the Shure that the EJ has got. The nice bass, the nice mids, the nice highs. Everything is very balanced. Everything is very correct. Nothing stands out or sticks out in the wrong way. Mids to die for. It's basically a cheap EJ07M. Well, cheap if you can consider $350 cheap. So where is, and this is the reason how I had the other IEMs here, where do all of these IEMs stand in relation with this? Let's say you start out with a GSAUDIO GD3C. You started out with this, you had $100, you got that. You want to upgrade, you upgrade to a AudioSense AQ4. In my review that I just did recently, I said there was a lot of similarities, and it stands. But ultimately, this is a better IEM, and ultimately, it is, if you obviously if you deem it that way. But this is an upgrade. This is the path to upgrade. You now have the AQ4. You want to again upgrade. You upgrade to a Mangird TEA 2. This is a very natural, very sensible way of continuing with the same basic sound signature and upgrading and improving it all the time. Where do you upgrade from this? I've just told you, EJ07M. And that's it. Where does the volume stand with regards to what we've been talking about? The volume is just, for me, for my ears, for my music, and for the IEMs that I have in front of me, okay? It is a side grade to the TK, to the TEA MK-2. That's what the volume is for me. I know some people might not agree, and I respect that, obviously, but for me personally, this is a side grade. It's not as neutral as the TEA. No, it's, let's say for the sake of this, it's more colored, but it is a fantastic IEM. I mean, it really is. It's for me, it's one of the go-to choices if you have around $300 and you want a hybrid. Okay, and sometimes I get people asking me, oh, but how does, like I had, how does the 3C compare to the Olina? Well, the Olina is a single DD. This is a hybrid. I can make those comparisons, and I do reply, but this is for me a go-to or a definite rec if you're looking for a hybrid that's around $300. This is a definite rec if you want a hybrid at around as well $300, which is more neutral, more correct sounding, undeniably. If you want something more fun, this. If you want more correct sounding, this. And the AQ4 and the GSAUDIO, we already know. This is for me the reference or one of the choices for a $200 hybrid, and that is one of the choices for a $100 hybrid, or the choice for $100 as a hybrid. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little review of mine, and yeah, see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.